Hey there, and welcome. So, today we're tackling a really interesting problem. It's a paradox that a lot of successful CPA firms run into. It's that moment when the growth you've worked so hard for starts feeling less like a win and more like, well, a problem. Let's dive in.
So let's just be honest for a second. Is your firm's growth creating chaos? You know the feeling, right? You're bringing in new clients, you're expanding your services. Things look great on paper, but behind the scenes, your team is absolutely drowning in work, just constantly playing catch up. Sound familiar? Yeah, it's a scenario we see all the time.
And this quote right here, it just hits the nail on the head. Growth is a good problem to have until it starts creating chaos. It's that exact tipping point, that moment where your success actually starts to create some serious, painful stress on your whole operation. And that brings us to what we call the growth paradox. You want growth, you work for it, you achieve it, but if you don't have the right systems in place, that very success can become the thing that stalls you out, stopping you from getting to that next level. So, what happens when your workload just completely outpaces your team's capacity? Well, the consequences are pretty predictable, and they're not pretty. We're talking about more mistakes slipping through the cracks, a huge spike in stress and burnout for your team, and worst of all, missed opportunities for even more growth, because you're just too busy putting out fires. So, what does this chaos actually look like on a day-to-day basis? Let's break down the anatomy of these growing pains and see where all that pressure is really coming from. Think about these specific stressors for a minute. Every single new client means more transactions to manage. Deadlines suddenly get shorter, tighter. When your team is stretched that thin, you know the risk of a costly error just goes through the roof. And your old workflows, the ones that used to be so smooth, now they're just bottlenecks. Oh, and the compliance pressure? That just keeps piling on with every new client you bring in. Okay, so we've laid out the problem, and it's a big one. Now let's pivot and talk about the solution. A really powerful, strategic solution that more and more firms are using to not just survive growth, but to actually thrive on it. And that solution is strategic outsourcing. Now, this isn't just about finding a cheaper way to do things. No, this is a strategic move. It's about using specialized offshore teams to instantly scale up your capacity, to make sure you have rock-solid accuracy on all those high-volume tasks, and this is the real game changer, freeing up your brilliant in-house teams so they can focus on high-value client advisory work. This really shows you the choice that firms are facing today. You've got the old way, hiring. It's slow, you get stuck with these long training gaps, and you're saddled with fixed overhead costs. Plus, you're always risking team burnout. But then there's the new way, outsourcing. Think of it as on-demand capacity. You get immediate access to trained specialists, and you turn those fixed labor costs into flexible expenses. This lets your core team focus on what they do best, strategy. So how exactly does outsourcing solve that massive capacity problem? Let's get into the nitty-gritty of how it actually works to relieve all those growing pains we were just talking about. It really boils down to these 4 pillars. First up is flexible scaling. You can add expert help the moment you need it without waiting months for a new hire. Second, you get incredible consistency and accuracy on those repetitive tasks where errors love to hide. Third, you get much faster turnaround times because an offshore team can work in parallel with yours. And finally, it's just incredibly cost-effective. You're turning a fixed cost into a variable one, which is absolutely crucial for managing cash flow when you're growing fast. Okay, I know a big concern is always, wait, does this replace my existing staff? The answer is a hard no. In fact, the best way to do this is with a hybrid model that actually empowers your in-house team and makes them even more valuable. The whole philosophy here is simple. Complement, don't replace. Your internal team is your single most valuable asset. This whole strategy is designed to protect them from burnout and to elevate their role in the firm, to shift them away from just cranking out production work and into truly strategic advising. So here's what that division of labor looks like. Your in-house experts, they get to focus on client strategy, on making those high-value decisions, and on building those crucial client relationships. At the same time, your outsourced team is the engine, expertly handling all the high-volume stuff like daily bookkeeping, reconciliations, payroll, you name it. It's a really clear, really smart, and super efficient system. So when you put this hybrid model into place, you're not just fixing a capacity issue. What you're really doing is building a brand new, powerful competitive edge for your firm. And just to be super clear, the sweet spot for outsourcing is right here, in these volume-heavy areas. bookkeeping, payroll, tax prep, and all that month-end reporting. These are the critical functions that can just totally overwhelm a growing firm, but they are perfectly suited for a specialized, dedicated offshore team to handle. And this is really the ultimate takeaway. With this strategy, that huge headache of rapid growth, the chaos, the stress, the bottlenecks, it gets transformed into your single greatest competitive advantage. Suddenly, you can scale faster, more efficiently, and more profitably than your competitors. So I'll just leave you with this one question. Take a really good, hard look at your firm's operations, at your team, and ask yourself, is my firm truly built to handle the success that I'm working so hard to achieve?